Step on up, Gerald. You've gained 9 pounds. Have you been cheating? Fine. I blame myself. You know what? I don't blame myself. No, not this time, Tony. Excuse me 1 second. You have failed, and you will pay.
Whoa. What?
Pack light, boys. The party's over.
Welcome back to the channel, y'all. We got a banger for you today with a You Heard It Here First. No, this isn't comedy or satire that I'll get you guys with sometimes. This is real. That is overweight Green Berets who can't meet the standard. You're out of here, bud. All right, so what happened? Okay, so this picture started circulating around the internet a few weeks ago in the Green Beret channels, apparently from a video the SecDef put out. As you can see, this beefy boy, Green Beret Colonel, not looking great. And this picture made it up to USASOC, and the USASOC commander, guys, not happy. All right, so I'm going to show you the official statement that was put out to the regiment, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so before we start that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel. Also, more exclusive content, consider following us on Patreon. Firearms content, fitness content, life advice content, all sorts of stuff going on over there. Now, let's jump into it, talk about it. We'll just show you first things first, the actual statement put out by General Braga, USASOC commander. All right, as you guys can see here, says, the creed of the Special Forces soldier states that a Green Beret will maintain their mind and body clean, alert, and strong. And as the old recruiting poster stated, the Green Beret says more about you than you'd ever say about yourself. We are a standards-based organization and must continue to represent what our nation needs and what our citizens deserve in capability and appearance. If you can't hold up the creed and do the basics right, you can't do the special part of special operations. Selection remains an ongoing event. Earn your Green Beret. All right, here we go. We are a nation's best warriors. To ensure high, uncompromised, and clear standards, USASOC will be reviewing height and weight data and ACFT scores across all 18 series of personnel. Any Green Beret found not within Army Regulation 600-9 height, weight, and ACFT standards will have their Special Forces tab and Green Beret revoked. Whoa. That is, some people may say extreme. This is not something we have ever really seen at all in the regiment. And yes, the stereotype, it's out there about Green Berets. Green Berets are old and fat, okay? We're going to talk a little bit about that today. So we're also going to talk about the height and weight standards and the ACFT standards, and I'm going to give you guys my opinion. First of all, let me say this. I agree 1,000% with this decision by General Braga. The reason for it is when you're wearing that Army uniform, and especially when you are wearing that Green Beret, you are representing the Special Forces Regiment. You, individually. Everything you do, everything you say, all the decisions you make come back on the regiment. And that includes when you're 70 pounds overweight with a beer gut, let's say you're at 3rd Group or at SWIC, and you go down to the PX right next to the 82nd Airborne, you walk in there looking like a pile of shit, to be honest. Guess what all of those 82nd Airborne paratroopers that are potentially aspiring to become Green Berets themselves look at that and go, wow, what in the F is that? They let Green Berets look like that? And I've seen it before. Now, I'll tell you guys, the vast majority of Green Berets in the regiment. Here's a picture of my old team in combat. Absolute physical specimen hitters. Problem is, we are old. Average age of Green Berets is 33 years old. And a lot of Green Berets in their 40s who are past their team time, in administration positions, high-ranking officers, etc. And they let themselves go. They get lazy. They get complacent. And guys, we're going to go through the standards. If you can't meet the ACFT standards, there's no excuse for that for a Green Beret. We're going to talk about why. Now, if you're watching this and you yourself are overweight and you're thinking, oh, this kind of hurts my feelings, doesn't need to. Should be a call to motivation. And if you're trying to figure out how to get back in great shape, well, my partners over at Modern Athlete Strength have the best performance-based fitness conditioning app out there. It's the one I use to stay in pretty good shape myself. All right, so let's check that out. All right, guys, I'm here to talk about our partners over at Modern Athlete Strength, the premier online tactical and performance-based fitness coaching app. All right, if you don't already know about Modern Athlete Strength, it's the weightlifting program and conditioning program that I use, and a lot of military, special ops, police officers, fire department are all going the route of performance-based functional fitness. So if you're not sure where to start, this app is fantastic. It lays everything out for you. You have online coaches you can talk to directly, modify programming. All right, it's gonna get you in the best shape of your life, right? So it's a lot more than just heading in, working on some beach muscles. You're actually gonna be functionally fit, be able to protect yourself, protect your family, and you're gonna look good as well. Head on over, check out our programming, become part of the community. Let's do it. All right, guys, awesome program, easy button. Get the app, tells you exactly what to do every single day. You got coaches on standby. You want to get in the best shape of your life? Sign up. It's about the cost of a gym membership, okay? Now, let's talk about the actual standards. Because as General Braga said, if you can't meet height and weight standards, which we'll talk about at the end, and the ACFT standards, you're getting your tab and beret pulled. And 100% agree, and here's why. All right, here is the ACFT, the Army Combat Fitness Test. Now, this is also going to be the test that they're talking about using as the combat test. And what they're going to do, keep the same test so far as what they're talking about, and just change the minimum score to pass for all combat arms. So what are we dealing with currently? All right, so here you go. You need a minimum of 60 points in each event to pass the ACFT with a total score of 360 or higher. They're talking about potentially putting this up to like 440 maybe. Right now, there is a gender split between the scoring. That's potentially going to go away. But point is, let's talk about the minimums to pass for the men's standard right now. All right, so let's just take a look. As you guys can see, here's the charts to kind of walk you how this works. So the first event here, max deadlifts, 3 repetitions. All right, you have max score here at 100 points. You have age brackets here at the top. So if we look up here at the very top left, you have the 17-21 age bracket. Typically, Special Forces, this is what everyone has to abide by. That can change here and there, but that's kind of the idea. All right, your max score you can possibly get is if you can do 340 pounds and rep it 3 times on deadlift. All right, that's pretty decent, not bad. But the problem with these scoring tests, or the minimums, right, 60 in each event. If we come down here to the minimum, 60, men, 18, and this is the hardest standard typically. You have 140 pounds deadlift for 3 repetitions to pass as a grown man. That is obscenely low. Obscenely low. My 14-year-old freshman son can deadlift far more than that 3 times. Okay, so if you can't do that as a Green Beret, big problems, all right? Next event's standing power throw. It's taking a wall ball, throwing it up over your head. We won't worry about the distances here. It's kind of hard to talk about those. As we get into here, this is another big one, okay? Push-ups, hand release push-ups. Max score, 57 for 100. Pretty good. But we get down to these minimums. 10 push-ups to pass the men's standard. If you are a Green Beret who can't do 10 push-ups, for the love of God, you should have your tab and beret pulled. My 74-year-old mother can do 10 push-ups. Okay, let's come down to here. Sprint, drag, carry. Overall times, 130 is pretty fast. Usually guys that do this really fast can do it in a minute. All right, so here's 2.5 minutes to pass. You can basically walk that. And it's called the sprint drag carry. Coming down here, planks. Planks suck. Minimum, 1.5 minutes. Pretty much anybody can do that. And then here's the big one. All right, the 2-mile run at the end. Yes, the hard thing about the ACFT is that you kind of smoke your legs before you go do this 2-mile run. All right, so your max score, 13:22. That's pretty good. That's a 6:45 pace for 2 miles after doing all these events. That's cooking. But another huge problem coming down to the minimums. 22 minutes. 2-mile run. That's walk. You can walk that. An 11-minute pace is a brisk walk. If you are a Green Beret who can't briskly walk for 2 miles, you're gone, homie. All right, so I don't have any sympathies or any empathy or anything for any combat armed soldier, but any Green Beret who can't meet those standards. Those are so low. So what I think needs to happen is not only do they need to meet the standards, but those standards need to be raised considerably. Because even, let's take a look at this. Let's say 440 is going to be around 70 points each, I think. I don't know the math exactly, but we'll take a look. What is, let's look at like push-ups here. Push-ups. What's a 70? 28 push-ups? 28 push-ups to pass. And that's going to be the combat standard, the new combat standard, right? When you come in, what's a deadlift? 70 is 200 pounds. 200-pound deadlift 3 times. That's passing for combat. That's got to change. It's got to get way higher. Okay, my personal opinion. Next thing we're going to look at, height and weight, because the height and weight standards in the military, anybody who's been in the military know they honestly don't make any actual sense. All right, so let's take a look at this. All right, so check it out. Height and weight. Now, if we come down here to my height, about 75 inches, and we usually were in the 18, had to be in the 18-year-old no matter how old you were in like the Q course. But yeah, 75 inches, 6'3", 206 pounds is as heavy as you're allowed to be. It's 6'3". If you are a guy with muscle mass like me, I'm about 230 pounds right now. Not a lot of body fat. When I was very, very difficult for me to be that low weight. Typically, I didn't. I was above the weight standard. You get what's called taped, where they do the measurements on you. If you're fit, comes back, you're fine. But again, this one's a little, you got to be a little bit questionable about, right? If you come down here like at 6 feet tall, 190 pounds, you can't be above 190 pounds at 6 feet tall. Almost every 6 foot tall Green Beret I know weighs more than 190 pounds. So this one, to me, the height and weight standards, that's not a great way to do it unless you're going to revamp those, because obviously then everybody just has to get taped. Now, if you are 6 foot, 250 pounds with a beer gut out to here, well, then you're going to pass tape, and that's not going to work for you. But majority of guys are, that are busting height and weight, typically in very good shape. So, yeah, guys, that's going to do it pretty much for this one. I just wanted to bring you this because this is breaking. And this is kind of the first military unit I've seen that has threatened this type of thing, right? Pulling your tab. Let's say, talk about Navy SEALs pulling your trident or anything like that for being out of shape or not passing PT test. This is going to hold a lot of people's feet to the fire, right? If there's potential you just get booted because you can't pass this PT test, yeah, a lot of these guys who've gotten complacent are going to be getting back in shape. So I think it's a great thing to do. I'm not always the biggest fan of decisions by general officers, but General Braga, I think you absolutely nailed this one. And I hope you carry it out. I hope this wasn't just rhetoric, and I hope you put people's feet to the fire, test them, right? For me, I'm retired. And, if I were to put on the uniform, shave my face, put on the beret, I would look the part even currently. And I am beat to shit with 10 major invasive surgeries all over my body. It's not hard to stay in decent enough shape. I can pass the minimums of an ACFT right now without even trying, literally without even trying. So there's really no excuse for anybody in the regiment to not be passing these standards. So good on you. We'll see what happens with it. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you found this interesting. And yeah, again, if you are someone who is, out of shape, overweight, watching this, use it as a call to action. Get yourself in shape. All right. Do it with our programming. That's going to do it for this one, y'all. Catch you in the next one.